Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. I am the Ancient Meddler. It's a strange name, and I'm a strange guy. So a little bit about what this channel is all about. This is my first video ever for this channel. I have decided finally that I'm going to start it and do it. I'm going to do reaction videos to music, books, TV, movies, and talk about just different things that come up. And people might be interested, get my take on things. I don't know if you would, but that's what I feel compelled to do. So been trying to do it for a while and thought about it many times, but didn't really have the, I don't know, the balls to do it. I don't know what it is. But recently a friend of mine sent me a video link to something that he saw on Justin Hawkins Rides Again, which was an artist by the name of Ren with his video Hi Ren. So I was so moved and inspired by Ren and his video that I made my mind up that I'm actually going to do this, and I'm going to push forward and see what happens with it. I'm not a professional. I do this for fun. It's just a hobby. So it's not going to be professionally edited. It's not going to be clean. It's just going to be me talking, and I don't have a script. I don't prepare anything ahead of time. I just do what comes naturally and what comes into this strange mind of mine, with very little filtering, and I'll give you my unblemished opinion on things and tell you what I think. So about me and why I chose this name for my channel. I am an old guy. This is my 60th year on the planet, and these are gray hairs in my beard, and not as much up here, but still quite a bit. And I'm into heavy metal, and I have been into heavy metal my whole life. So some of the stuff that we'll talk about on this channel is just I'll break down some albums or old bands, talk about concerts, talk about all kinds of stuff. So mostly it's going to be me reacting to things. So I get to explore different kinds of music, different genres of music that I might not normally listen to, and give you my opinion on it. But the first thing that I want to react to is the video that inspired me to move forward with this, and that is Hi Ren from Ren. Now, I have heard this before. I will be totally upfront and tell you that I have seen it a whole bunch of times, because once I found it and I watched it the first time, I became obsessed with it. I couldn't stop watching it. I told everybody I know about it. And that's kind of the reason why people were saying, dude, you should get a reaction channel and share your opinions on stuff. So here I am, and I'm going to do it. And so the first video that we're going to talk about is Hi Ren from Ren. So let's go ahead and get started on that. I'm going to cut in a lot with my comments and stuff. So first thing I wanted to talk about is for those of you who have lived under a rock for the last 6 months and don't know who Ren is. Ren is a young performer. I think he's in his early 30s now, who has been dealing with illness for a number of years. He says in his song, for half his life he's been sick. He was misdiagnosed. They didn't know what was wrong with him. Took a long time for them to actually come up with the proper diagnosis of Lyme disease, which is an autoimmune disease that you get from being bit by a tick, which is weird. And so he's been dealing with that for years, and he's extremely talented musician, singer, songwriter, rapper, producer. He makes his own beats, he does his own recordings, and it's pretty amazing. So this was the first exposure that I had to him. I'd never heard of him before when my friend sent me this video, and I was completely floored by it, blown away. I broke down crying probably just a short period into the thing, and cried the whole time. So hopefully I'm not going to cry today, because I've seen it so many times. I may be getting immune to it now, but I was so inspired by it that like I said, I told everybody. I even sent it to my son. I have a son that's about Ren's age, who's really into music, and he played violin from the time he was like 4 years old, and self-taught piano, self-taught guitar, and he writes songs and he's a singer. So I thought, hey, finally I have something, because he never likes my music, right? So I finally have something that I can relate to with my son, that I'm going to send him this video. So I sent it to him, and he listened to it. I think he listened to it, and his response was not what I expected. He said, I don't really like it. So I wondered, does he not like it because there's something wrong with it, or it's not his style, or what? Or does he not like it because I sent it to him? And knowing my kid, I strongly suspect it's because I sent it to him. If one of his friends had sent it to him, he'd probably feel differently about it. So anyway, this is High Ren, and we'll jump into it. So the room here looks really creepy. It was my first impression, was like, what is that? And it just gets creepier as he's wheeled in by a pig wearing a butcher's apron and gloves. It's kind of scary. Hi, Ren. So one thing I want to point out right here at the beginning of this, sorry to interrupt, and I know you're going to get, I'm going to get a lot of criticism for interrupting, and I know I don't have to interrupt because Ren doesn't care. So, but I want to interrupt because, I mean, after all, that's why you're here, I hope, is to hear my thoughts. So this is kind of a one-take deal. So I know he didn't do it. He did it in one take, but it took 4 tries to get there, is what I understand. So from start to end, it's one continuous live performance recorded with multiple cameras. But it's live, and you can see the guitars mic'd up. You can see he's wearing a mic on his collar, and you can tell the audio quality is really good, really surprisingly good. But you can just hear the echo of the room. You can get that live ambiance. And on his guitar playing, I'm really digging the acoustic guitar here, but his ability to play it is phenomenal. And he's really, I watched a video from Tank the Tech, and he was criticizing the tonality or the quality of the sounding of the guitar. And with all due respect to Tank, who I do respect greatly, I disagree. I think it's perfect the way it is. I wouldn't want it any more cleaned up. I wouldn't want any richer sound. It's raw. It's powerful. It's emotionally evocative. It makes you feel something, which if it was more polished and more cleaned up, I don't know that you'd have that same kind of reaction to it. It's very visceral, the reaction that you get watching this and listening to it. Especially the way he plays those strings so hard and so powerfully that he's bending them and causing them to not be exactly in tune, and you get buzzing sometimes when he plays them. But that's part of the passion of this piece. So let's keep going. In fact, I'll back up just a hair. I'll pause it right there. After, I didn't want to interrupt his singing because it's so good. The first time I heard this, I thought, what the hell is this? It's a creepy dude in a pig mask, in a bloody butcher apron, wheels a guy in a very antique looking wheelchair, wearing nothing but a surgical gown, carrying a guitar, in a creepy ass room with a very cool lampshade that you might see in a bordello. And the lighting, everything, and the coloring, it's just so artistic, right? But when he sang, it blew my mind. I was like, what? I was not expecting that. So, and I get that everybody has that kind of reaction. So, a lot of people go hear that and go, and they kind of get turned off, and they might hit pause or exit or something. But don't do that. Just keep going, and we're going to keep going right now.
Hi there, Ran, it's been a little while. Did you miss me? You thought you buried me, didn't you? Risky, cause I always come back. Deep down you know that, deep down you know I'm always in periphery. Ran, on you pleased to see me. It's been weeks since we spoke, bro, I know you need me. You're the sheep, I'm the shepherd, not your place to lead me. Not your place to be biting off the hand that feeds me.
So, yeah, not your place to be biting off the hand that feeds me. So I didn't know what was going on at first when I listened to this the first time. I didn't realize what it is, which it'll come clear in a minute. I just thought, that's kind of cool. I'm not really into rap. I'm not a rapper. I'm not into hip hop that much. But as we explore this channel, I'm going to be trying a bunch of that kind of music and all different kinds of music. So I'll be getting exposed to different things and learning to appreciate a wider range of music other than heavy metal. That being said, I thought it was pretty cool. I was like, whoa. It's really catchy and upbeat sounding, but then it's so dark what he's talking about, and it's like weird. What?
Hi, Bren. I've been taking some time to be distant. I've been taking some time to be still. I've been taking some time to be by myself since my therapist told me I'm ill. And I've been making some progress lately, and I've learned some new coping skills. So I haven't really needed you much, man. I think we need to just step back and chill. Ren, you sound more insane than I do.
Oh, that's when it hit me. So I was, okay, took me a little while. Maybe I'm slower than other people. And maybe you caught on right away, but it took me a little bit. So yeah, okay, the first time he's singing it, it's kind of like, oh, okay. And then switches, and I noticed that the style of guitar playing completely changes. His facial expression completely changes. The tone of his voice changes. And then it hit me when he said, the third time he begins and he says, "You're more insane than I am," and then it hit me like a sledgehammer to the forehead. Oh, this is a subconscious conversation that's going on inside his head between the negative aspect of his subconscious and the positive aspect, and they're having a battle. It's like a duel between like the old angel and devil on your shoulders, right, kind of thing. So then it was like, oh wow, okay, now I get it. And I really started paying more attention to what he was saying, and it's just, whoa.
You think that those doctors are really there to guide you? Been through this a million times. Your civilian mind is so perfect to always being lied to. Okay, take another pill, boy. Drown yourself in the sound of white noise. Follow this 10-step program, rejoice. All your problems will be gone. Fucking dumb boy. Nah, mate, this time is different, man. Trust me. I feel like things might be falling in place, and my music's been kinda doing bits too. Like I actually might do something great, and when I'm gone, maybe I'll be remembered for doing something special with myself. That's why I don't think that we should talk, man. Cause when you're with me, it never seems to help.
So, the way he pulls this off is just amazing. It's such a complete transition from the one guy on the left that is so negative and so self-defeating, which we all have inside of us. And the Ren on the right that is trying to be better and is struggling with the problems that he's got, and recognizes that this voice that talks to him is not helping, and he doesn't need to listen to it. It's just such a strong and powerful thing. But even his face looks different. It's like he becomes a completely different person. So everything transitions. Also noticed some really interesting things about the lighting, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
You think that you can amputate me? I am you, you are me, you are I am we are one. Split in two, that makes one. So you see, you gotta kill you if you wanna kill me. I'm not leftover dinner, I'm not scraps on the side. Oh, your music is thriving, delusional guy. Where's your top 10 hit? Where's your interview with Oprah? Wow, your Grammys ran nowhere. Yeah, but my music's not commercial like that. I never chase numbers, statistics or stats. I never write hooks for the radio, they never even play me, so why would I concern myself with that? But my music is really connecting, and the people who find it respect it. And
Damn
for
right.
me that's enough, cause this life's been tough, so it gives me a purpose I can rest.
Sorry, rest.
Man.
in. So, yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's so many things in my head right now. Yeah.
You sound so pretentious. Ran, your music is so self-centered. No one wants to hear another song about how much you hate yourself.
I do.
Trust me. You should be so lucky, having me inside you to guide you, remind you to manage expectations, provide you perspective. That thing you neglected, I get it. You wanna be a big deal, next Jimi Hendrix, forget it. Man, it's not like that. Man, it's just like that. I'm inside you, you twat. No, it's not, man, you're wrong. When I write, I belong. Let me break the fourth wall by acknowledging this song. Ren sits down, has a stroke of genius. He wants to write a song that was not done previous. A battle with his subconscious, Eminem did it. Played on guitar, Plan B did it. Man, you're not original, you criminal rip-off artist. The pinnacle of your success is stealing other people's material. Ren, mate, we've heard it all before. She sells seashells on the seashore.
So I got to talk about that a minute. So I just think it's amazing that he calls out that what people are thinking when they're watching this video. Not everybody, but a lot of people who are maybe more familiar with Eminem than I am in his catalog recognize, oh yeah, hey, wow, yeah, Eminem did this. Okay. So acknowledging that kind of takes the negativity or the power that brings away. And it's just like when a writer is writing a novel and they introduce something that the reader has difficult time accepting, right? So what do you do? How do you handle that? You have some character in the story comment on it. Like, I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. And when you read that, it affects you subconsciously because now you become more willing to accept this weird thing that happens in the book. And authors do that all the time. And that's just one example of it. And it's kind of the same thing here where, negative people probably are thinking, he's just copying Eminem. Yeah, he's an Eminem wannabe, right? And so by calling that out himself, kind of takes away the power of the people who are going to criticize him for that, which I think is amazing. The other thing was the she sells seashells reference I didn't get when I first heard this, because I said this is the first Ren that I had ever been exposed to, so I didn't know what the reference was. I thought he was just being cute at first, and then I found out, that's a reference to a song by Ren called Money Game Part 2, which that nursery rhyme plays an important part. But I also do notice that Ren refers to nursery rhymes in more than one song. And a couple of different songs that I've heard, he actually does that, which is kind of weird and interesting at the same time. So yeah, okay. I get the reference now. It's a reference to, you did a video before where you talked about that nursery rhyme and you thought it was really cool, but he's putting it down here, so.
Fuck you, I don't need you, I don't need to hear this, cause I'm fine by myself, I'm a genius.
Damn right.
And I will be great, and I will make waves, and I'll shake up the whole world beneath us.
Already are.
Speak your truth, your fucking God complex leaks out of you. It's refreshing to ask for you, say it, instead of downplay it.
Music is all about the creative process, and if people can find something to relate to within that, then that's just a bonus.
I love how Ren tries to introduce a certain layer of comedy in this, because it's an extremely dark subject, and he is discussing things that are very dark and can be very painful for people to deal with. And by introducing some humor, it lightens it and makes us feel better, and so we can handle the discussion of the negative thing so much more readily. So now, I mentioned before I wanted to talk a little bit about the lighting, and so this is a good place to pause it because you can really see what I was going to talk about. One of the things that I notice in this video is the dichotomy of light and dark. He talks about it later on. He talks about the pendulum and the brighter the light shines, the darker the shadow it casts. Right? That's something he'll talk about later. Sorry if I get ahead of myself. But you'll notice in this scene there are two lamps. The lamp on the left and the lamp on the right. The one on the left is more up front and is larger. The one in the back is kind of recessed, almost hidden around the corner in a little nook. Which feels to me as if this is intentional and it's symbolic of the mental process that we go through, and the fact that the one on the left could relate to the negative voice, the one on the right could reflect the peaceful, positive inner voice. And what's interesting here is look at the shadow on the floor, and you'll see that even though that lamp on the left is closer and probably looks brighter, the shadow on the floor is stronger from the small lamp in the back, because the shadow on the floor that's being cast the most is the one that's going to the left. And so that really connects to what he talks about later, but it's also showing that inner light, that peaceful, positive inner light, is stronger than that negative one. And so we can trust in it, and we can open ourselves to that and allow that bright inner light to shine through and cast light on the negative things that are coming and overpower them. And that's just something I saw in it, and it just seemed very connected to that concept. So I don't know if he did that on purpose or not, but it just felt like it. So anyway, back to the song.
Fuck you, I'ma fucking kill you, Ren. Well, fucking kill me then, let's fucking have you, Ren. I'ma do it, watch me prove it. Who are you to doubt my music? Cause I call the shots, I choose if you die. Yeah, I call the shots and so I choose who survives. I'll tie you up in knots when I lock you inside. Newsflash, I was created at the dawn of creation. I am temptation. I am the snake in Eden. I am the reason for treason. Beheading all kings, I am sin with no rhyme or reason.
So I haven't heard anybody talk about that before, and I don't know. I've never met Ren. I haven't talked to him, of course. So would be shocked if I had. So when he does that bit, and he's talking about sin, and he holds his hand up like this, and he turns and kind of looks at it and does this with it. What it reminds me of is Shakespeare's Hamlet and the skull. And so I don't know if that's what he was intending when he did that, or what he meant by it, but it's what it kind of felt like when I saw it. I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of like Hamlet talking to the skull. So anyway, just my observation.
Son of the morning, Lucifer, Antichrist, father of lies, Mephistopheles, truth in a blender, deceitful pretender, the banished avenger, the righteous surrender when standing in front of my solar eclipse. My name is stitched to your lips, so you see, I won't bow to the will of a mortal, feeble and normal. You wanna kill me? I'm eternal immortal. I live in every decision that catalyzes chaos, that causes division. I live inside death, the beginning of ends. I am you, you are me, I am you, Ren.
Feels like a nervous breakdown to me. It's like everything's building up to this crescendo, this catharsis, right? And it's just getting bigger and bigger and building up and building up and building up and just kind of just like driving you crazy and everything, and you can't handle it, and then you kind of collapse into the next bit, which is this return to calm. Then we start back.
Hi, Ren. I've been taking some time to be distant. I've been taking some time to be still. I've been taking some time to be by myself, and I've spent half my life ill. But just as sure as the tide starts turning, just as sure as the night has dawned, just as sure as the rainfall soon runs dry when you stand in an eye of a storm. I was made to be tested and twisted. I was made to be broken and beat. I was made by his hand, it's all part of his plan that I stand on my own 2 feet. And you know me, my will is eternal. And you know me, you've met me before. Face to face with a beast, I will rise from the east and I'll settle on the ocean floor. And I go by many names also. Some people know me as Hope. Some people know me as the voice that you hear when you loosen the noose on the rope.
Okay. That line right there. This whole sequence, right? But that line hits hard. For anyone who's ever dealt with mental health issues, depression, suicide, or contemplated suicide, or attempted suicide, and if anybody is going through that now and is dealing with it, I urge you to get help, reach out and talk to someone, because there's no going back. When you commit to that course, you reach the point where you can't take it back. And what he's talking about is that point where you decide you don't want to die. You want to live, and you want to fight, and you want to keep going, and you pull that noose and you loosen it and you breathe, and the feeling that you have at that point is one of hope and not giving in. And it's so powerful. It's just so amazing that he's able to capture that and express it in such powerfully beautiful terms.
And you know how I know that I'll prosper? 'Cause I stand here beside you today. I have stood in the flames that cremated my brain, and I didn't once flinch or shake. So cower at the man I've become when I sing from the top of my lungs that I won't retire, I'll stand in your fire, inspire that me to be strong. And when I am gone I will rise in the music that I left behind. Ferocious, persistent, immortal like you, we're a climate different side.
Wow. Okay, so the singing there at the end, it just feels so uplifting and so positive. Like we've been on this ride together, and we've come through darkness, and we've come out the other side into the light of day, and we're moving forward, and there's nothing going to stop us. And it's just a very beautiful feeling and a beautiful vibe that gives, compared to the bit at the very beginning where he's saying, which to me was shocking because you didn't expect it, but it's also very mysterious. It's like, what is this about? Why is he singing like that? What's about to happen? And then now it's like, oh, okay, we're all filled with this feeling of optimism and hope.
When I was 17 years old, I shouted out into an empty room, into a blank canvas, that I would defeat the forces of evil. And for the next 10 years of my life, I suffered the consequences, with autoimmunity, illness, and psychosis. As I got older, I realized there were no real winners and there were no real losers in psychological warfare. But there were victims, and there were students It wasn't David versus Goliath. It was a pendulum, eternally swaying from the dark to the light. And the more intensely that the light shone, the darker the shadow it cast.
He talks about a pendulum there. Sorry, it's a white boy. He talks about a pendulum swinging from the dark to the light, and that talks to the duality of things, right? So everything in the universe that we go through has this kind of cycle where it goes back and forth from dark to light, from positive to negative. But the reality, and it's like a coin, right? So he talked about that we're a coin minted different sides. So it's a single coin. You can't separate us. You can't remove half a coin. Well, you can remove it if you cut it sideways, right? But if you cut it on the edge, it's no longer a coin. You can't just divide it heads and tails. You can't just take one off. This doesn't work, right? And we as human beings experience the darkness and the light. We experience the negative and the positive. And it's part of our nature. It's part of our being that you cannot get rid of. You cannot remove it. You just have to learn to accept the fact that we are the pendulum. And we are constantly moving and constantly going through this cycle. And you can't have one without the other. And so don't fight against it, because that only makes your life more difficult. It's that you have to accept it and soften and, like he says, relax into it. And recognize that, spending a lot of time and energy and part of your being in fighting something that you don't need to fight. You just need to accept it. Anyway, so let's continue to hear what he has to say instead of me.
It was never really a battle for me to win.
Right.
It was an eternal dance. And like a dance, the more rigid I became, the harder it got.
Yep.
The more I cursed my clumsy footsteps, the more I struggled. So I got older, and I learned to relax. And I learned to soften, and that dance got easier. It is this eternal dance that separates human beings from angels, from demons, from gods.
Right.
And I must not forget, we must not forget, that we are human beings.
Yeah, that's just a powerful statement. This idea that this eternal dance is what separates us from angels and demons and gods. If you think of a demon or an angel, they are only one-sided, right? So demons are negative and evil and dark, and that's all they are. They have no redeeming qualities. And the angel is the other way around. It's only positive and light and good things, and there's no negative. But we aren't demons and we aren't angels. So we actually have both inside of us, and they're constantly moving back and forth and blending together. And the whole human, the whole us, is both of those things in harmony, in balance. And learning to achieve that balance is very difficult, but that's kind of what he's talking about. You have to just relax into it, stop struggling against it. So anyway, that's that was my first reaction video of me being inspired by Hairan to talk about Hairan and to talk about other things. So it's very important to me. It's a very powerful piece, and I think it needs to be shared with as many people as we can share it with, and that's kind of why I'm here. So again, I am the Ancient Metaler. I love heavy metal, and I will be talking about a lot of different kinds of music, but definitely take you down the rabbit hole of the music that I grew up listening to and influenced me so greatly. and maybe in a spin on it that shows things in a light that you didn't understand or didn't necessarily appreciate. So that's it for this video, and I appreciate you taking the time. Do the things that all the other guys tell you to do. Was it like and subscribe and ring the bell and all that stuff? So I don't know. I'm an amateur, but if you like what I said, leave me comments and let me know. If you don't like what I said, leave me comments and let me know. If you want me to do more, tell me what you want me to do. If you have something specific you want me to react to, I can do my best to get that done. If there's something you want to hear me talk about, if you just want me to read the telephone book, I can do that too. Anyway, so I am the Ancient Meddler, and we are done. So have a great whatever day, night, morning, afternoon, as my dog is barking. He wants to go out. Perfect timing.